I can hear the birds chirping in the background. It's kind of wild how they do that on CBS when the Masters tournament is underway, and you realize there are no birds flying around in Augusta, Georgia. There's like two birds in the entire county. And sure enough, you hear the escalating bird noises coming there from Amen Corner. And it starts out, sounds like maybe the pleasant humming of hummingbirds. And then by the end, by the final round, you're hearing like some kind of Rodan-sized monster. But the ambiance there is fantastic. It's a great betting event. It's underway right now, the Masters. And we can hear the Jim Nance dulcet tones gently saying, "Hello, friends." See Arnie Palmer. They drag his body like it was weekend at Bernie's out of the casket there for the ceremonial first shot. Whoosh, that's in the trees, Arnie. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to find that one. A lot of fun, though. And as I said, when it comes to wagering, golf is one of the great bets. Now, we were going to be joined here by Mike Jones, who usually is with us on Thursday. And the man is a wild man when it comes to this stuff. You talk about, are there great golf handicappers out there? Because it seems like the handicappers are always presenting you, not in all cases, but if you're following this and you see that, well, so-and-so's predicted the last 9 Masters winners. Bullshit. Nobody's predicted the last 9 Masters winners. And if you are betting chalk, there's no guarantee that you're going to be anywhere near the cashier's window at the end. Although Scotty Scheffler out there short his price, defending his championship, somewhere between the lowest I saw was like plus 375, and I saw it as high as maybe plus 475. So shop around if you're going to bet on the chalk and Scotty Scheffler. You have until the guy tees off, so you might still have some time to plunge on the Masters. Mike Jones and I, though, Mike, I talked to him last night because we entered a golf pool. It's one of my favorite wagering opportunities. Not just happens on all the majors. This gentleman puts on a pool, but it doesn't necessarily go for every tournament. There are other tournaments, Tournament Players Championship, and a couple of others that the pool is offered on. And what happens is he has 7 lists of names that go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep. Okay. So you don't have the whole field in there, but you have 7 lists that are 10 deep each. And you have to pick one player from each list. Now, they're grouped together naturally, so you can't pick the top 5 players. So you're going to have to choose from among them and some others that are sprinkled in there. It's extremely interesting the way that it's done. So if you wanted Scotty Scheffler, let's say, you can't have McIlroy also, although you could have Morikawa and you could have several others. So it's great. And the whole key is you want to get your 7 guys through the first couple of rounds of the tournament. And if nobody misses a cut, it's punitive if your guy misses a cut. Not only has he shot a high score to begin with, that is going to be prohibitive to the chances of you actually winning outright, because it's the low aggregate score from the 7 golfers that you have from these 7 various lists. Are you following at home, or is everybody as lost as I am on this? No, but it's great. And unfortunately for me, the very first time I entered one of these pools, I ended up second. It was a very substantial return for the amount of money that I had risked going in, and the action could not have been more fascinating to follow, as you were sweating out every putt from guys that were hopelessly out of contention, and you still had to be concerned about the outcome of their score on many, many holes in the tournament. You're watching the early, that they're still in the fog out there in California, and you need Jordan Spieth to make a cut, and he's picked up his round after a rain delay, and you're watching at 6 in the morning Eastern time to see if this guy could do it, because you don't want to get the punitive +3 for the second 2 rounds of the for the third and fourth round of the tournament if your guy misses the cut. So it's fascinating, great way to follow it. We are depending, Mike Jones and I give him a call. I say, okay, I was a little late to the deadline for this particular pool, but under some special considerations, I was able to get in. And now, it wasn't like anything had happened, but it was just the guy had said, hey, listen, it's a lot to organize and get all the details of and post them. And so everybody has transparency as to what's going on, because it's fun to follow. And if you're alive, you get 4 days worth of entertainment that is more than worth the price of admission, even if you don't cash. That's the kind of wager this is, and make for a very enjoyable viewing if we're alive into the 3rd day of this particular Masters competition, which is always entertaining anyway, is it not? It is to golf what the Kentucky Derby is to horse racing, where you have a lot of people that normally would pay no attention to it, and all of a sudden they are golf experts, as if you were listening to Hank Haney right here on NoFilter.net. But all the dissections and the handicapping, they all point to the favorites. They usually do. The Live Tour guys, as we talked about, getting big prices on these guys because it just doesn't seem like they care anymore. Didn't John Rahm? I don't know if any of you guys caught this interview with John Rahm, but I'm trying to figure out where is he coming from before this tournament, and he may well win it. He's a former champion there. If you go by horses for courses, John Rahm certainly has the game, and he's proven it to win at Augusta National. You thought that he was going to win many of them, but nonetheless, then he defects for the Live Tour, which is essentially like being spirited away to Saudi Arabia. And there were a lot of aspersions being cast towards all of these players in the beginning. Hey, you took the money and you ran. That's for has-beens like Usti and Mickelson. You don't need to be doing that if you're in your prime, John Rahm. And at first he resisted and he was all loyal to the PGA. And then he realized, fuck this. I don't know these guys the time of day. So if I could play, they've played 5 golf tournaments so far. I think the PGA has been in action every week, going all the way back to the early January tournaments in Hawaii. Then they're on the Southern California tour there. They played a bunch in San Diego. They come to Florida. I mean, they've been active. They've already played what would be seemingly 2 seasons worth of live golf. And we're only in April here and heading for the first major, the Masters. So where do those guys stand? I don't know. They're getting big prices. Live Tour guys, you would have to think that some of them, Rahm in there with a shot, but he looked like in this interview on Golf Channel, he literally he looked like he was one of the guys in a group session on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he's sitting where they're waiting for Nicholson, rather not Mickelson, but it could have been Phil, to pop off and say something to Nurse Ratchet, like, "Hey, Nurse Ratchet, go fuck yourself." And then he was going to sort of muster up a little bit of a laugh there to show that he was actually aware of what the hell was happening. He looked like he was on Dilaudid, some kind of sedative. So you're wondering, where is the level of competitive fire? Is that something that we should factor into our handicapping equation? With these Live Tour guys, DeChambeau, we saw him very determined a couple of years ago. Brooks Koepka, same thing. So they're getting big prices. I mean, if you believe in one of these guys, and there are many others, that would be genuine, definitive contenders to win it all. But how do you measure their current form? And is there any kind of barometer for whether or not they give a fuck? I would imagine that the Masters is enough of an inspiration to be wearing that hideous green jacket for these players to muster up what it would take, the kind of fortitude it would take deep in the belly and the bowels of your human soul to compete in the Masters. But we'll see what happens. I need, and Mike Jones, I call this guy, he's talking spin ratios. He's, I mean, any guy that we mentioned as we were entering this pool together, any guy that we mentioned, he had full detail of every performance he's ever had, a hole by hole breakdown, the shot by shot, virtually every guy in the field and how they performed at Augusta National. And I'm thinking, wow, I've never heard so much detail. So it was a shame we couldn't connect with him because he really wanted to so-called tee off on this particular topic. So here's where we ended up. I don't know if this is any kind of a recommendation. You might want to run and go the other way. But Mike claimed that he had inside information that Brooks Koepka was focused for this event. Now, we saw Brooks Koepka, what a dogged competitor he can be. And the other thing that's always recognizable about Brooks Koepka, who defected for the Live Tour, kind of I don't know that he was one of the earliest defections, but he jumped on board pretty quickly after Dustin Johnson, drafted right in behind him and said, what, $300 million? I'll take it. And who could blame him, right? It's like the thing in Bronxdale where Chaz Palminteri is saying, hey, is Mickey Mantle, he's making $100,000 a year. You think he cares about you? In the end, the fact that Brooks Koepka took this money and people were being disparaging about the idea that he sold out for blood money probably isn't going to matter too much. And I doubt, it doesn't seem like it's impacted the psyche and made him feel like he should bear any sense of guilt about leaving the PGA Tour. Looks happy as can be. Has teeth the size of Secretariat. It's the only time we've seen a mouthful of teeth like that. And has game. Wildly competitive and combative almost when he was winning a couple of majors. Did he not win 2 majors even after defecting to the Live Tour, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, look how determined this guy is." So, our buddy Mike Jones, who was supposed to be with us today, is telling me that he's ran into Brooks Koepka's father. They are from Palm Beach, Florida, and Mike's a big golfer. And Bob Koepka said to him that Brooks focused, like he's in a room, isolated, some draconian type of practice situation, doesn't want to see anybody, talk to anybody, just determined to get his short game razor sharp because that's going to be what it takes to win at Augusta National. And he should know, right? Brooks Koepka. Although, did he win a Masters? I'm not sure. I want to say, I originally want to say yes to that, and now I want to say no, that he's won other major championships. But Koepka, yeah, no, he had to win one, no? Anyway, regardless, 31-1 on Brooks Koepka if you think he can do it. So there's a way to step out and see if you can't test your metal, your metal woods anyway, and see if you can't conquer something and make a big ticket out of the Masters. If we win this thing, and we need Koepka to do well, and Hovland, Victor Hovland. We both have them as the leaders on the particular list they were on in this pool, and then we have a mixed bag of others. So, would you ever use a guy that had not played the course before, or at least other than practice rounds, never been in a competition? I believe that's the case with one of the guys I took. So he'll probably miss the cut by a wide margin. Maverick McNeely was playing some decent golf, but first-time starter in the Masters. Is he going to be awestruck? Is he going to hit his first drive right through the window at Butler Cabin? I don't know. And nail Jim Nantz in the head? We shall see. But a lot of fun. I mean, it's a wild betting affair. If you're alive in this type of betting action, I don't think that you could get more for your money. And, of course, you have a chance to make a pretty good score without risking a lot. So, in my opinion, that would be the way to bet golf. If you're sending it in thinking that you have knowledge of who's going to come out on top, I know Rory's due. He's got to complete the lifetime Grand Slam. And maybe he is. He's playing good golf. But if you're chunking in large five-figure wagers on Rory McIlroy, you either have more money than you know what to do with, or you're flat out of your mind. All right, a lot of other things happening. Some juxtaposition there. The Golden State lost last night in the NBA, kind of knocked them down into the play-in situation. That 3-8 in the NBA West is insane and likely to see some juxtaposition even in the last 3-4 games of the regular season. But everybody's darling Golden State compromised a little bit last night, although maybe very short term. But their loss to, what was it? Sacramento beat them last night. And they end up dropping down into the play-in tournament position there as 3-8. You can literally throw an umbrella over all of them in the West, and could be a lot of changes. Luka Doncic, that was pretty cool. If you had the over on Luka Doncic scoring last night, you had to eclipse it by a wide margin. I don't know that they could have made a number big enough. And this could have gone either way. So if you had the over on Luka Doncic points, you were cashing by halftime as he had 31 and ended up with 45 in a game in his return to Dallas. Always an interesting dynamic to see a guy who was a superstar in a city coming back, especially since it wasn't like he went whining and crying. This wasn't Jimmy Butler leaving Miami. This was an astonishing development that shocked virtually everybody. Nobody believed it. You thought, oh, my God, this has really gotten out of hand on social media, where you could get a report that Luka Doncic's been traded by Nico Harrison from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers, of all places. And you thought that had to be just completely falsified. But he returned to Dallas and did it in style, as he went wild in that ballgame. Tremendous stats. I don't know, can you bet that they break it down to the point where you can bet on shooting percentages? He goes 16 for 28, 7 of 10 on three-point shots. They had the tribute. He's crying, and there seemed to be a lot of compassion between his teammates as you watch those parting greetings that they were giving each other. And it did seem like the feeling was genuine, that Luka Doncic enjoyed his time there in Dallas, and that Nico Harrison, has anybody seen this guy, the general manager who orchestrated this trade? Was he even on the scene last night? I would imagine he could have been barred from the arena. But interesting to watch the final few games of the NBA regular season. Normally, you wouldn't be able to say that, but a lot of juxtaposition, especially out in the West. and a lot to play for certain teams. So you might be able to take advantage of that. Although you would have thought many people probably had a plunger go right through their heart, thinking, and so many experts are touting Golden State as being, oh my God, they're going to be so great with Jimmy Butler. We shall see. I don't know that they improved themselves in any overwhelming fashion with Butler. Wiggins was doing a similar job as Butler. He's probably not as well-rounded a player. But if you were looking at it, the Heat, everybody thought they just got hosed because they were compromised by having no leverage because Butler clearly wanted out and it wasn't going to work out. They're suspending him game after game. And, getting back Wiggins wasn't really all that bad. Record is very positive with Butler in the lineup, but Golden State, I'm not sure that they're the darling that Kendrick Perkins seems to believe they are. And he's the same guy that says the Lakers are saving the league. I'm not sure that that's the case either, because it seems to me, NBA being a chalk league, people, I hate to say this, but who's knocking out Oklahoma City the way they're playing? They've been unbelievable, and a team that seems to be in perfect symmetry. So while other teams like Denver are firing their coach, Mike Malone, with 3 games left in the regular season, there's all kinds of turmoil. You're looking at Oklahoma City cruising almost wire to wire to the best record in the NBA. They clinched a home court advantage throughout the playoffs all the way through to the final round. So I think many people are correctly expecting them to be there and probably walking away with the championship. We shall see. All right. And some good matchups, too. Early rounds of the Stanley Cup championship. As it stands today, I don't know if this is going to stack up. But you would have, right now, as it stands, you would have the Washington Capitals, who've had this great season, mostly focused on Ovechkin's chase and surpassing Wayne Gretzky's seemingly insurmountable regular season goal total for his career. Montreal's been hot. They would face Montreal in the first round. The Florida Panthers, defending Stanley Cup champions from our hometown here in South Florida, would be going against maybe one of the only in-state rivalries outside of on the collegiate level that actually is tangible. Certainly on the pro level, the Miami Dolphins don't have any big rivalry with Jacksonville or Tampa Bay. Nobody cares if those teams are playing each other. The Miami Heat, Orlando Magic originally was something when they were both kind of scrubby expansion franchises. Orlando came into the league, I think, a couple of years later than Miami did, but there was a little bit of a rivalry there because of that. And yet really has dissipated. Nobody gives a flying fuck if maybe the people in Orlando care because they don't have much to care about. But there's nothing going on there except Disney World and a bunch of other amusement parks and a lot of traffic. But Miami, of course, is a hotbed for all kinds of entertainment and great ways to entertain yourself and have a lot of fun. And nobody gives a flying one. If the Orlando Magic come to town, you probably would have trouble giving your tickets away. So no big in-state rivalry there. I guess the one remaining one would be Florida State and the Florida Gators in football. And maybe you could mix in a little bit of the University of Miami in that. But even that is dissipated because Florida State and Miami, still a good rivalry. Florida and Miami don't play each other on a regular basis. So the one rivalry that's stuck, though, and it's almost always a bloodbath, is Tampa Bay going against the Florida Panthers. Defending Stanley Cup champion now. They've been to the finals 2 years in a row. They're second choice behind, I believe, the Dallas Stars, surprisingly. I haven't seen much of the Stars this year to give you any kind of reasonably thought-out comment. But they are the favorites somehow at like 6-1 to win the Stanley Cup. But the Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning, it shows you how tough it is. Panthers, I think, are plus 650, and the Lightning are double digits, I think, to win the Stanley Cup. First round, you have toss-up matchups that are going to be extremely physical and hotly contested. And if that goes 7 games, I think you'll see whoever evolves from that dust it up a little bit. And then on top of that, you still have 3 more bloodbath series to go to win the Stanley Cup. So I would agree with people that say, and it sounds like you're just paying homage to a sport that few people really have any real in-depth knowledge of anymore. But I think it's reasonable to say that the Stanley Cup is the toughest championship to win in all of sports. Who will win it? We don't know, but you're getting some pretty good prices on teams that you're getting 10-1 on Washington, who had an outstanding season with Ovechkin, the Capitals. and you're getting 12 to 1, I believe, on the Toronto Maple Leafs, who've had a real good season and haven't won since Andy Bathgate was an embryo. But nonetheless, the Canadian people, the faithful there in Toronto, are certainly hopeful that maybe they can change that whole outcome. All right, good luck with all your wagers. I hope you can make a score on the Masters. A lot of other great degenerate activity going on, including what is a part of 8 straight days of racing at Keeneland. Always outstanding. Big bombs coming in. Pick 4 yesterday, played 20,000. You had a $100 winner in the last race. So if you're looking, I think obviously you're getting much better odds if you're betting thoroughbred racing, and especially these linear sequence exotics, pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. Pick 6 a little more prohibitive, but you're getting amazing payoffs with some of the bombs that are coming in, especially at Keeneland. So that's in action today as we head towards the Kentucky Derby, which is the ultimate, and we'll have a lot of steam on that, the ultimate wagering opportunity for anybody. You talk about Overlay City. All right, you guys have a great day. Sorry Mike couldn't join us on the program today. He was having some technical issues with the sound, and I was really hoping to hear his I had to hold the phone away from my ear. He was so excited yesterday talking about the Masters and all the possibilities and analyzing all of the players. So it would have been a pleasure to bring him to you today. We will have the professor tomorrow, although the professor, his season as sort of, he'll be a guy that could give us a lot of confidence about players in the draft since he follows college football so closely. So maybe we'll pick his brain for that and give you some insight into betting possibilities. I would imagine prop bets galore on the positioning of the draft and what teams are going to take what players. So we'll have a lot of steam on that coming up. And, of course, be with you again next week with the results of the Masters and hoping that everybody could get a little taste of Brooks Koepka at 33 to 1. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.